Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome, everyone. What a nice evening. Very temperate. Full moon. Lovely festival. And the very special occasion of the appearance of Sri Caitanya, who maybe, I don't know, we can talk about tonight if the questions come up. We can discuss Sri Caitanya. This is our question and answer session that we do every evening here as part of the festival. And it's a very simple process. There's questions and then there's answers. And to begin us, please share your name with me again. Sarah. Sarah will get us started with the question.
I was wondering if you can explain about Sri Caitanya, and then I've heard that he's the avatar of Lord Krishna, and how come people realize that? And just tell us more about it, if it's possible. Thank you.
Oh, Sarah, there's so much to say. We live in my belief, and I shared this a bit over this morning in class, and sometimes in the evenings I've mentioned that I believe we live in a very important time in the spiritual history of the world. We could go back, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you could say India has gone through different periods: a Vedic period, then a very Jnanic period of Buddhism, and then Advaita Vedanta, and then about 1,000 years ago, Bhakti really began to arise. It was always there, no doubt, but and the message of it was always there in the spiritual literature. But in the course of history, sometimes special people dig in and they pull it out of the literature and they say, look, there's something more here. And then they begin to exemplify it through their life, and they give teachings by which people can practice it and realize what they're showing. So when teachers like Ramanuja came 1,000 years ago, or Madhva came 800 years ago, they're saying, let's go deeper into these texts, that there's not just mukti or moksha as the highest goal. We might practice Vedanta, practice yoga, practice Jnana Yoga with great determination. We may be very qualified for it. We may have great tolerance. We may have an intense drive and focus, not allow our mind to be distracted, having very sharp discernment, vivek, to be able to tell what is real and what is unreal. And we may engage with these qualifications. We may engage in a path of Jnana Yoga by which we go deep within the mind, locate and isolate our desires, see them for what they truly are, recognize the shallowness of them, break our attachments to them, and step by step become free. And becoming free means that the influences of this material energy no longer have me confused, no longer have me thinking I am this body, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm white, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm any of these designations. Those are temporary roles, temporary circumstances, have nothing to do with who I actually am underneath. So that's a powerful thing. And that through that one can achieve this freedom and experience that I am eternal. That's powerful. But then other teachers come along, they say, all of that was there in these teachings, no doubt, and it's real and it's authentic. But don't you see there's something still more? If you churn this a bit more, you can see that there are teachings of love in there. That the peace that one can attain through moksha, that's a wonderful thing. But the soul does not achieve the state called Atma Suprasidhiti, the complete satisfaction of the self, until the love that is within us all, that is the nature of us all, awakens and arises. And that bhakti is taught in these same literatures. Let's go deeper. So great teachers like Ramanuja 1,000 years ago, Madhva 800 years ago, they churned these same texts and they said, look, there's more. But then about 500 years ago, there was another wave of bhakti. And this bhakti had some really important features to it. One is that it really began to recognize, because a lot of what was there before was growing out of the early Vedic literature, which emphasized the Varnashram Dharma, which is a brilliant way of analyzing. Nowadays, we would call it like personality types, and understanding what roles in society people can play according to their personality types, according to their psychology. That incredible insight, which was really meant to train up people for different roles in society, and to give strong ethical background in the different roles, whether we're a business leader, whether we're a ruler or political person, leader, or justice department, whether we're a spiritual leader or teacher, or whether we have any other occupation as an employee. Ethically, what is the most valuable way for me to operate? We should be trained in those ethics. If everyone were trained in those ethics, we'd have a more beautiful world, a more harmonious world, and have potential for a more spiritual world. So the earlier Vedic teachings heavily emphasized this, but it also got warped. It began to see that the role that you play in society is based on your birth. And the role of the teachers was seen as very, very high. And if they're authentic, they bring something very valuable to society. But when this wave came 500 years ago, it clarified something. It dug deeper into these texts and said, look, these roles are real and they're important, and it's helpful to have this school of ethics going on. But much more important than someone's birth, the family that they're born in, is someone's inner quality. And the deepest and most important inner quality is divine love. So it becomes clear that if someone has this divine love, they've achieved the goal of all of these teachings. And they should be recognized that no matter where they're from, no matter who they are, no matter what family they're born in, no matter what their gender is, no matter what their race is, none of that is very important in comparison to someone's inner divine love. Let's respect that. So 500 years ago, you get all of these saints coming up from different backgrounds. In Sri Caitanya, well, okay, let's use that as the foundation to starting your question. Is that a good, we're good, like, we have a little background of how he appears. Okay. So 500 years ago. Well, we have to zoom out from 500 years ago, actually. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, then I'm going to come back to 500 years ago, okay? Good? With me? Okay. Sri Krishna. If we look deep into these texts, we see that the form of Krishna, the beautiful boy who plays the flute with the peacock feather in his hair, who dances the Rasa Leela with a beautiful devoted gopis, who's the darling of Vrindavan, who later speaks the Bhagavad Gita, etc. That he is, and he will become identified as the perfect object of meditation and the perfect object of divine love. Whatever there is to love, this is Bhagavad Gita. You look at 10th chapter. Whatever there is to love in this world or in anyone else is his own opulence manifesting in them. You understand? Krishna will say, he calls this, it's called, the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti means like something special, something opulent, something brilliant, something wonderful. He's saying wherever you see something glorious, wonderful, brilliant, fantastic in this world, think of me, because it's my opulence that's appearing in other forms. And so, therefore, Krishna being the origin of all there is to love in this world, he's the perfect object of love. And when someone loves him, they experience the highest yogic attainment, the highest yogic awareness, the deepest and most beautiful form of meditation or form of experience. This is called bhakti. It's called prema, right? This is special love. And love of God is an incredibly special thing. But what becomes clarified, this is real important. Everybody with me now? I want to say it was always in these Vedic texts, but it became brought to the surface 500 years ago. It's brought to the surface. Everybody, let's look in this big body text, and maybe we're skipping over this. Maybe we didn't highlight it enough. But now some people are really beginning to understand this, and they're living it, and people are catching on. That loving God with reverence is the common way God is approached. God is great, we're very small. And that's truth. So it's good. But there's something more. That God can be loved in an intimate way. And that what pleases God the most is to be loved with intimacy. Imagine if you lived in a world where everybody loved you. That sounds great, right? But imagine if they all loved you like you were super important, right? And that's the only relationship that you could have with people is everybody's like, you are so super important. I'm very small. I love you. And please be kind to me. And can I have some things also because you're the one that gives everything. That's God's position. Does that make sense? So in one sense, the love is appreciated and reciprocated with, but he's desiring a more intimate love. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if you're with me. Yes? Okay. Anybody not with me? Okay. I mean, imagine, right? Imagine if there was nobody that loved you close, that everybody loved you like you were a superstar. You can't get close if you're seen as very great and the other people are seen as insignificant in a sense. So it begins, certain great saints are churning information out of the Vedic literature, showing that, hey, look, if you look at certain texts, you'll see that they describe another type of love for God. We see it in the residents of Vrindavan, the place where Krishna is having his childhood pastimes. They love God, not with awe and reverence. They even forget that he's God. He's doing wonderful things, and they're a little confused. Sometimes they're saying, is he God? Is he a deva? What is he? Oh, I don't know. I love him. And they love him like a friend, right? There's some funny stories that you get in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Would you like to hear something a little funny? Because Krishna's father, does anyone know Krishna's father's name? His name is Nanda Maharaj. He's kind of the head of the cowherd community. He's got, in one sense, it's a big role. He's like important in this rural farming community. And with him, he's got some brothers and some other gentlemen that are part of his team who care for the community and so on. Sometimes they get together and have meetings and discuss things. What crops are we going to plant? Are the cows okay? Are we doing everything right? Are our families well cared for? Is everything going well? And sometimes they start to talk about Krishna because Krishna is doing all these wonderful things. Sometimes he's just a little boy. And sometimes he's being attacked by like these ferocious kind of demonic shape-shifting beings. And even though he's a tender little child, somehow he always comes out victorious. He's doing crazy things. Like one time he lifted the mountain of Govardhan, just on his finger. How can he do that? He's our kid. How can he do? One time his mother looked inside his mouth. All the other kids were saying, Krishna has been eating the dirt. You should see. They're telling on him, ratting him out, right? Little Krishna's been eating dirt. They're telling his mother. And his mother's like, oh, Krishna, you're always getting into some trouble. Come over here. And he's saying they're lying. I didn't do it. It's not true. Actually, he was the one that was lying. Okay. But she says, okay, come here. Let me take a look in your mouth. Open up. And this beautiful, most beautiful boy, right? Big, beautiful eyes like lotus petals, right? Beautiful, darkish complexion, His hair is so lovely and soft and curly, and his heart is just full of love for his mother. And he's looking at, when a child is full of love for the mother and looks up with its eyes, and the mother looks into those eyes, it's just like, oh, they can feel the love, yes? And so she looks into the mouth. She's like looking at Krishna, and they're lying. They're not telling the truth. She's like, he lies all the time. He probably did eat this dirt. Let me see inside. And he opens up his mouth wide, and she looks inside. And do you know what she sees? She sees the entire universe inside his mouth. She sees the solar systems inside his mouth. She sees the earth inside his mouth. She even sees herself looking inside his mouth. And for a moment, she's totally confused. What is this? Now, a Vedantin, a sage, may say, yes, of course. Krishna is in everything. He's in every atom. And everything is in Krishna. All the universes exist within his body. Ekopyaso rechaitat jagananda kotim, yachchaktirasti jagananda chaya jaranta, antantarastam paramanu charantarastam, govindam adipurusham tam aham bhajami. This is the verse quoted by Brahma, the creator of the universe, empowered by Krishna through Vishnu to create the universe. He recognizes Krishna is simultaneously inside every atom in the universe, and at the same time, unlimited universes are inside him. He's God. He gets that. But Mother Yashoda doesn't think of Krishna as God. She thinks of Krishna as her own little boy who's dependent on her, because her motherly love and the intensity of that motherly love allows her only to see him that way. So when he does something wonderful, like display the entire universe in his mouth, she can't really process it. So she kind of like, what was that? And then she forgets all about it, and then she just embraces him with love. They can't remember that he's God. And sometimes when Nanda Maharaj's father brings all the council together, sometimes they say, this Krishna is doing amazing things. He's defeated these demoniac shape-shifting demons. He's lifted the Govardhan hill. He's done this, he's done that. We think your son may be very special. We think your son may be a great yogi. Maybe he's one of the devas. Is it possible that he's Lord Vishnu himself? And then Nanda Maharaj, his father, his love for him is so deep, as with fatherly love. He only knows him as his little boy that's dependent on him, that he has to protect, that he has to educate. Smothers him with fatherly love. He says, you think my boy, Krishna, is a yogi? You think that my little boy, Krishna, is like one of the devas, that he's Lord Vishnu? He lies all the time. He steals you've heard about Krishna stealing, haven't you? What does Krishna steal? Butter. What else? Yogurt. What else? He stole the clothes of the gopis. And ultimately he steals the hearts. He steals everyone's hearts. He's a thief. You think he's a yogi? Yogis don't steal. He lies all the time, right? He'll break into a pot of butter, eat the whole thing, have butter smeared all over his face and his hands. His mother comes and says, why did you steal the butter? He says, I didn't steal any butter. Right? Now, all of this is just to deepen the love, the affection that they're feeling. There's nothing more adorable and wonderful when Krishna steals. When Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis, they were all bathing in the river. And he came on by, saw their clothes, climbed up into a tree, sat on the branch of the tree, tossed the clothes over the branch of the tree, and sat there. And they're all bathing in the water. And then they're ready to get out, and they look and they say, where are our clothes? Where are our clothes? This is a problem, right? You're bathing in outdoors, and you're expecting that your clothes are going to be there when you're ready to get out of the water, and they're gone. What's going on? Then they look up in the tree, there's Krishna. They say, now in their hearts, they love Krishna like anything. Their hearts and their minds are completely absorbed with love for him. They want him to be their husband. So they're in a very tricky position where they want to be good girls. At the same time, they're kind of, it's a kind of a very erotic situation where they're before the person they love with no clothes on. And they say, Krishna, will you please give us our clothes back? I mean, they're pretty vulnerable in this circumstance. You know, they're just, please now. You know, they realize. At other times they get sassy with him, you know, but now they're totally, Krishna, will you please give us our clothes back? And Krishna says, of course. I'd be most happy to give you your clothes back. One at a time, you come out of the water and come up to me, and I will give you your clothes back. Right? And if we understand what's really happening here, is that he's fulfilling their deepest desire. They all want him as a husband. And to appear that way, an Indian girl, a good girl, she would only appear that way before her husband and no one else. So in a sense, their prayers are being fulfilled. And in any case, he goes through this whole passage. So he steals, he lies, he cheats. He's always causing trouble. He's always running around in some kind of a crazy state of mind. You think he's a great yogi, a deva, he's Lord Vishnu, and they all start to laugh. All the men, when they think of all these things Krishna does, they start to laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. That time he stole the butter. Oh my God, they're laughing. You know how you laugh sometimes where you can't stop? Have you ever laughed like that before? You're laughing, you can't stop laughing, and then you start to cry, you're laughing so much? Raise your hand if that's happened to you before. Yes, okay. They laugh like that. They laugh and they laugh and they laugh with love for Krishna until they finally stop laughing, and then they kind of caught their breath, and then they just started laughing again, all over again, because Krishna is they just have such love for him. Even if he does steal, cheat, he makes everybody happy. But the point is that they love him with intimacy. They can't think of him as God. Even if they try, even if he sometimes shows it, they can't calculate it because they love him like a friend. They love him like a parent. They love him like a romantic lover. Now that love is 500 years ago, everybody's saying, let's take a look at this kind of love. This is a very special kind of love. This is the deepest, most intimate kind of love. This is the love that touches God and really moves him. And it's the highest yogic platform. Those gopis, those girls, in the most authoritative and important Vedic text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, are called the Yogeshwaris, the greatest of all the yogis. Right? The love that they have is the greatest yoga. So that becomes emphasized about 5,000 years ago, and especially through Sri Caitanya. Okay, so now we get to your question. All right, everybody still with me? We're keeping this together? Put your hands up if you're with me. Okay, good, okay. So now Sri Caitanya is Krishna himself. He's looking at Radharani. He's seeing the love that she has is the deepest possible, most fulfilling, and most beautiful experience that one can have. But he's unable to have it. Why is he unable to have it? Because he's the object of divine love, right? Not the subject of... Anyone else in the universe can love God and feel that feeling, except for God, right? He's on the other side. But he sees the love of Radharani. He appreciates it. He becomes fascinated by it. He's thinking, sometimes we're scared. God is like ontologically superior to us. I don't know if I can deal with that like eternally. But when you see his heart, he's thinking, she's better than me. I want to understand her internal life. And he comes as Sri Caitanya. And as Sri Caitanya, he experiences what Radha experiences. It's called Mahabhava. It's not just love for God, and it's not even just the love for God, the intimate love. but it's the most intimate love at the most intense degree possible. This is Radha's love. Sri Caitanya is the only other person that can feel it. And when he feels it, he's overwhelmed by it. And when that love is turned towards the rest of the world, because it's the most intense possible love, it manifests as the most intense possible compassion. And he wants to give this love to every living being. Now, this if you really get into this theology and really understand it, you'll see it's a very beautiful esoteric idea. And the way that he does it is he says, through this mantra, this Hare Krishna mantra, this inside this mantra, hello. It's inside this mantra is all of that love. Even Radha's love in this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. So he says through this mantra, everyone can feel this. He's giving it away. You don't have to be so qualified. You don't have to be so tolerant, so learned, have this intense drive. He's giving it away. That's Sri Caitanya. And so we live at an age now where these teachings have broken, the teachings of Bhakti have broken out of India and have gone to the whole world. And it's something that's increasing. I think if we look, and I think the world will be looking more and more towards Sri Caitanya and the conception of the divine that's there. That like, I'm from the United States. And in the United States, it's like 90% of the people believe in God. But more and more they say, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, right? Spiritual, but not religious. Because there's a lot within the religious teachings that they've gotten that kind of, let's say, they're not so comfortable with. They don't see it as entirely healthy or entirely true. That there's a big God as a judge that's condemning someone to go to hell forever. That if you accept it, you're saved forever. It doesn't matter how you lived. If you don't accept it, it doesn't matter how well you've lived. You're condemned forever. That you can't see that God, but you're supposed to love that God, etc. I think that within this Bhakti tradition, there's the most powerful teachings of Vedanta that help us understand who we are, that we're not our body, that we're not our mind, that there are practices that we can do to realize this, that we can become free of the external, the power of the external energy, and that can be a platform in which Bhakti grows, and one finds something still more meaningful in divine love, with a conception of the divine that's not only sweeter, but entirely fascinating and unlimited. The more you dig into it, there's unlimited leelas, unlimited poetry, unlimited glorification through beautiful Sanskrit song to understand Radha and Krishna and the gopis and the cowherd boys and all the residents of Vrindavan. It's an unlimited wealth of spiritual aesthetics. I think it's appealing to people, and I think it will grow and grow like that. And this is the desire of Sri Caitanya, the kind of the grace of Sri Caitanya. Is that okay? Okay, let's start all over again. He's Krishna. He's Krishna. He wants to experience Radha's love. He's born 500 years ago in a Brahmana family in Bengal, on the bank of the Ganges River in Bengal, in a place called Navadvip. Okay? From there, he grows up. As he grows up, why did he come? He came to experience Radha's love. But when he's young, he's more like Krishna. He's kind of naughty. He's doing a lot of... Everybody's like fascinated with his beauty, but he isn't expressing this pure bhakti love. And he's living in a community where, one, it's under Muslim rule, oppressive Muslim rule, and two, the Hindus are commonly caught up in the superficial side of Hinduism, which is very caste conscious, which is more concerned with getting material gain rather than developing deep love. So that's the atmosphere in which he grows up. But when he's a little bit older, he has a divine experience where he tastes this love for the names of God. and he begins to spread this chanting of the Mahamantra. And there's a lot of resistance in the beginning, but it begins to become very influential as people taste the ecstasy of it. Then he takes sannyas, he shaves his head, and begins to wander all over South India. He goes down, comes back up the west coast, goes back down again, comes up, and has many teachings and meets very important people, shares very deep teachings through them. These people will later go on to compose books on what he taught, and that becomes the foundation of the Gaudiya, the follow this particular path of bhakti. Then he goes to a place called Jagannath Puri. Have you heard of Jagannath Puri? There's a temple of Lord Jagannath in the state of Orissa on the east coast of India. And this temple is one of the most ancient and famous temples of Krishna in the form of Lord Jagannath. Maybe you've seen Jagannath, he's got big eyes, right? So he goes to settle down there, and that's where he pursues going deeper and deeper and deeper into this mood of Radha. Like that. So that's just, in a nutshell, that's his life. Did he ever say that he's Lord Krishna himself? On the rarest of occasions. Because he doesn't want to think that he's Krishna, because he wants to experience what it's like to love Krishna. So he's not so interested in saying that I'm Krishna. But there was a time where he displayed it openly to everyone. And so that's recorded in his life story as well. He was 48, I believe. Yes, he didn't write the books himself, but his followers wrote the books. Chaitanya Charitamrita is going to be the most important one. Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. Really good. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions? Everybody left. Where'd they go? They went into the Kirtan. Okay. But we still have some people here. Do we have any other questions? Yes? You have? Yes.
With so many distractions from work, social media, and responsibilities from the daily chores, how can we maintain sincere bhakti and steady connection with God in this modern life, this materialistic life?
Everybody has to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're not going to succeed. It's just like when an athletic team has to play like sometimes they go into the playoffs and they have the championship. They plan the whole thing out. My wife told me she was once on a basketball team when she was a girl. And they had this coach, it was okay, but then a new coach came. And this new coach came down and sat with them and said, this is how the whole first 5 minutes of the game is going to take place. You're going to do this, you're going to pass there, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Then they're going to come back, then we're going to get the ball. And they laid it all out. And they had it all fixed in their minds. And when they came out, they did exactly like the coach said, and it all worked. And they're like, really makes a difference. But whether it's a battle, whether it's a sporting event, whatever it is, a business plan, if we're going to succeed, particularly if we're going to succeed in a great challenge, then we better have a clear plan. And that goes for the yogis as well. And in one sense, the yogis are taking up the biggest challenge to defeat the enemy within, one's own lower nature. Very challenging. To conquer the mind, to conquer the senses. Very challenging. So we need to have a plan. And generally, the idea is that within the sacred text, like say the sacred text of bhakti, they're going to lay out that there's different practices of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivednam. That there's different things you can practice. And there's different ways that you can view the those practices are like inherently bhakti related. And then there's other things we have to do in the world that aren't inherently bhakti related. Like our job may not be inherently bhakti related. Taking care of our family may not be inherently bhakti related. But it can be done in a state of, it can be done as an offering to God and turned into an offering in bhakti. So generally a practitioner has a guru. And the guru is just like going to the pharmacist or to the doctor. They understand the condition of the patient, and they understand the nature of all the different medicines or all the different health regimens that are available. And according to the person and their circumstance, they prescribe certain medicines. So the guru, knowing all of the different bhakti practices and the condition of the disciple, they can carefully choose which things will be really helpful and healing and practical in their life, transforming in their life. So then they get a plan. This is what I do when I wake up. This is what I do midday. This is what I reflect on. This is the practice that I do. These are the prayers that I say. This is the offering that I make. This is the book that I read. I reflect on it again at this time. At the end of the day, this is what I do, etc. And you make a powerful regimen where now, rather than your mind just being distracted by the externals, you have a plan of how you're going to direct your mind. You understand? If I don't have that plan, then the externals are going to just take my mind away from me. So in this way, you get a sadhana and a whole plan of how you go through your day. And you follow that plan, and you can succeed. Is that okay? Thank you. Follow up?
George Harrison said, just chanting the Mahamantra leads to the liberation. Is that true?
In this day and age, in this particular Kali Yuga that we live in, it said yes, that the Sankirtan, the chanting of the Mahamantra, is the method for liberation. But it gives more than liberation. When we say liberation, George Harrison was a Bhakti yogi. So his conception of liberation that he was speaking about was liberation in divine love. And the divine love is there in the mantra and can be accessed through it. So yes, it is true. One should have no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. I've seen people achieve it. Thank you. Did you have a question, sir?
You spoke about the guru. How does one find an authentic guru in today's day and age, and how do you know that it's the right guru for you?
That's also your question too. This has been a common question this year. A lot of questions about that. We have to know what a guru is. What is a guru? Is he someone that says, I had a powerful experience and I became enlightened, and I can share that enlightenment with you? How do we recognize a guru? Do we recognize them by the clothes they wear? Do we recognize them by maybe whether or not they have a beard or wear a turban or, I don't know, pose that way? What we need to go to the authentic text that teach us what a guru is, right? A guru is a representative of those texts. So the guru, they're not, sometimes a guru may be this incredibly enlightened being. And sometimes a guru may be a very good follower that's steadily on the path to enlightenment. Both can be suitable. But in either case, they're not coming forward and presenting themselves as I'm the enlightened being. They're always presenting themselves as I'm the representative. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm representing the teachings as they've been handed down forever, right? And their ability is that they can communicate the teachings, deliver the teachings in a way that they can be understood. So their role is not to create anything new and not exactly to parrot what's been said before, but to take the essence of the message and make it relatable and applicable and accessible for the disciple so that they can practice that, follow in the footsteps, and become transformed. So first is you look for a representative, a true representative. We should know who their guru is. And then we should know who their guru is. Because this is handed down in this way. They're not making it up. If someone's making it up, why should we accept what they're saying over what anybody else is saying? Right? In this tradition, the idea is that the knowledge itself is eternal and flawless. It's apurushe. It's not created by any human being. And the idea is it's handed down and represented like that. Otherwise, if it's some person saying I'm enlightened, why should I accept that they're enlightened? The real deep beings, they don't pose that way. If they're deeply mystical, have even some siddhis, some powers, they're not very interested in showing them because they know it's the more shallow person that's interested in that. And they're going to give the most to those people who are very sincere, right? So you look like that. And how do you find that person? You have to really want it. But sometimes people ask, how do we know that I'm ready to accept a guru, right? And you're ready when you're ready to follow what they say. In other words, how do I know when I'm ready to find a doctor? Well, there's no point in finding the doctor if you're not going to do what they say. But you have to have faith in that doctor. They have to have the qualification, right? And so similarly, the representative of this Vedic knowledge, the guru, when they speak on the authority of these texts, and you should be able to see the consistency. Okay? You should be able to see the consistency. They should speak in such a way that is consistent. They should speak in such a way that something should happen in yourself. That you through their words and through their example, something awakens in you. And would you like me to define what that looks like? What awakens in you is that for so many lifetimes I've tried to find happiness through the external things of this world. Through the right spouse, through the right amount of money, through the right home, through the right amount of fame or prestige. I've been looking for happiness in all these external places. I've become convinced by hearing from this person that that's a faulty strategy. That I'm better than that. That I have a much higher potential than that. That I've been a fool to pursue happiness in the world that way. And this person's convinced me that my own nature is something that's far beyond that. And that I can find that within. And when this person speaks, the desire for that is ignited in me. I become fully convinced that I'm ready to give that up and leave that behind and take on this new life where I dedicate my body, my words, my mind entirely to God. That's what I want. That's what I'm convinced I'm going to do by following the teachings of this person. It's this person and their words, when they speak, that ignites that in me. That feeling is the feeling that a true disciple has for a true guru, like that. And sometimes examples said, like, if a man is potent and a woman is fertile, then through their union, a baby is born. That's the fruit, right? In the same way, if the guru is authorized, if he's genuine, if he's handing down the real teachings, the real authentic teachings, and if the disciple is receptive, is open to it, and open to be transformed, then the connection will produce the fruit. And that will be divine knowledge and ultimately divine love. So that's kind of what it looks like, you know. But it's something that the disciple can pray for intensely, and at the same time be patient. Both these things. Is that okay? Thank you. But I'll tell you something. Just like in any field, just like in the medical field, there's authentic doctors, healers, and there's always going to be a lot of cheaters, quacks, phonies. Someone coming up with, I just came up with a new way, you buy this thing and you will be healed, you know. These things, buy this thing, pay this amount of money and it'll grow your hair back, right? If it worked, there wouldn't be any more bald men in the world, right? It doesn't work, no matter how much money you spend. But there's some quack telling you, oh yeah, this oil, you buy this oil, it's really special. You do this treatment, you know, you do this and you'll be healed. Look for the authentic ones. Just like you can easily be cheated, Don't allow someone to cheat. Look for the person that actually has real love, right? The person that really cares, and the person that's not phony, not putting on airs. They should be non-pretentious, right? Not putting on airs, look how enlightened I am. And a lot of times, those people that are posing as being, this is a saying that I've heard, and I think it can really apply well if we want to make sure we're not looking in the wrong place. This was something that was said by Nietzsche, the philosopher Nietzsche, speaking about certain people. He said they muddy the waters to make them seem deep, right? If you have some shallow water, but you want people to think it's deep, then you make it muddy, and you look at it and say, oh, maybe that water is really deep, but it's very shallow. So they muddy the waters to make them look deep. And these so-called gurus, they speak in kind of riddles, and then they make everybody think, oh my God, I can't understand it. It must be very deep. A real guru is making things really easy to understand. That means they've understood it themselves. That they can take something that's very subtle and they can make it easy to understand. That means they understand it, right? If they can't make it easy to understand, then they probably don't understand it very well. So their words shouldn't be confusing you. Their words should be saying, oh, it becomes, now I understand, now I understand, now I understand. That should be the experience that you're having. That makes sense? Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, Maharaj. Hari Hari Bol. Okay, another question. Another question on this beautiful full moon night. Yes.
So in the morning lectures, we were speaking about the socially engaged yoga path that Bhakti is also part of. And we said you don't have to walk away from the earth. You can practice yoga while eating, dancing, doing all your activities. But also in Bhakti, we have austerities. And like, for example, we're fasting like on this day, if there's a festival, or twice a month. So what meaning does that have in our tradition? Like, what's the benefit of doing these austerities?
So there's something about bhakti that needs to be understood if we're going to understand it correctly. And that is that bhakti is independent. And what that means is that for bhakti to grow in someone, for bhakti to take root in someone and grow, it's not dependent on anything external. You may be 90 years old, you may be 2 years old. You may be incredibly austere like a yogi, you may have very little austerity at all. You may be very learned, you may be very simple. Bhakti can grow in the heart of any one of those people because it's already in there, right? It's not something that has to be attained through one's external power. And it can be attained by a blessing at any moment, right? So it's not dependent on these things. I mentioned in the classes that every one of these yogis, let's say if we want to divide yoga into 4 paths, that's one valid way to analyze it. So we could say there's Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, Bhakti yoga. There's other ways we could break it down, but let's say we broke it down this way. Every one of these yogis, in order to embrace the fully spiritual, is going to have to let go of the material. You can't, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of the external activity, but you have to let go of the internal attachment. And so we can call that detachment, inner detachment. Some yogis are going to have external detachment. They're going to walk away from the world. Whether you do or not, it's going to have to be internal detachment. You're going to have to let go of what your inner material attachments are. Now, there's a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that says, the sages turned to Sutta Goswami and they asked, what leads to complete satisfaction in the soul? What brings the highest good to all mankind? And he said, it's bhakti. Savai pungsa, paro dharmo, ito bhakti urdhoksaje, ahoitiki, apratiyata, yayatma supersidity. That this is the dharma. The highest dharma is bhakti offered to the adhoksaja, to that supreme Lord who's beyond the reach of our senses. And when that devotion is offered without wanting anything in return, pure love, right? Then it gives complete satisfaction to the soul. So these yogis hear this message and say, very interesting. The sage has given us a direct, clear answer. He said it's bhakti. But isn't attachment like super important? Isn't knowledge, and knowledge results in attachment? We thought, especially when we read the Upanishads, we get the impression that brings the highest good, that delivers complete satisfaction in the self. Sutta Goswami, could you explain to us this? Because you're saying it's bhakti. And then he says this interesting verse. He says that when one has bhakti, when one has real love for God, jnana and vairagya, knowledge and detachment, they follow immediately in its path. Because when you love someone with intensity, you forget about everything else. You understand? You let go of everything else. That internal letting go has to take place. But in bhakti, it doesn't have to take place through practicing austerity. It doesn't have to take place through walking away from the world. It doesn't have to take place in these standard ways of cultivating external detachment so that you can have internal detachment. The idea is that you can shift your attachment from the material to the spiritual, from the world to God. And when you do that switch, you automatically let go of everything. So then to your question, well then why do bhakti yogis sometimes practice austerities? Why do they sometimes fast, say on a Kaddashi day? Or live with great... It's favorable for bhakti, but it's not necessary for bhakti. It's favorable for bhakti, but it's not necessary. And so just as we were saying before, that a doctor can prescribe medicine in a specific way for a patient. In this case, and within bhakti, the doctor knows that if bhakti arises in them, they'll let go of everything. They'll be free of their material disease. But knowing that, I think what will be helpful for bhakti to begin to blossom in them is a certain amount of austerity, right? A certain amount of study, right? A certain amount of this and a certain... If too much austerity, maybe their heart grows harder. Too much learning, maybe their ego begins to grow. Or if they get a lot of learning, maybe I have to be careful and by applying regular attention to them to see that their ego isn't growing. Remind them, hey, this is just knowledge, it's not devotion. Hey, you're doing austerity, but don't forget, austerity is not what touches the heart of Sri Krishna, right? It's only love that touches. Okay, I was getting a little arrogant here. I was thinking I was a big shot. Now you reminded me and I remember, right? Anyone can have this. There's total materialists that can be very learned. They can quote every verse in the Bhagavad Gita and so on, but not have a drop of bhakti in their heart. So in this way, the doctor, the guru, can prescribe austerity, study, renunciation. Maybe for, and I'm going to speak in just generalizations. Let's say the guru has a young disciple. He's a young man. He doesn't have any responsibilities. He can see in the student, he's got a natural inclination to austerity, to simplicity. Okay, maybe we can really make that a part of his path. He can be a brahmachari. He can be celibate. He can study deeply. He can become very learned. And this would be an excellent way for him to keep his mind focused on Krishna and for bhakti to awaken in him. He can also use it to serve the world. It's great. And then maybe he has another disciple that's an old lady. She's a grandmother, you know. She's taken care of by her family. She's 70 years old. Austerity is, if he told her to live the same way he was telling the young brahmachari to live, it would actually disturb her bhakti. She's already like does puja every morning and chants the holy name and cries. She's a step away from achieving the goal of bhakti, and now I'm going to go and prescribe austerity for her. There's no point. You just keep doing what you're doing, and let's give you some really deep talks on the love of the gopis for Krishna, and that's all you need. It's what's there is already awakening you. It's going to take off. It's not dependent on austerity. It's not dependent on learning. She doesn't have to memorize shlokas and things like that. It's already natural. She likes to just chant in front of her deity of Sri Radha and Krishna, and it's all coming. You could just keep doing that. So bhakti's independent. It doesn't need anything but itself. It appears where it wants to appear. It appears where there's humility and connection with an appreciation and love for another bhakti yogi. The channel comes through. So it's not dependent on these things, but they can be helpful. They can be favorable when they're prescribed by an expert. Okay. Good questions. Good questions. Yes, sir. What is your name? Akshay.
Akshay from last year.
Yes. I was there last year.
Do you know that I answered all your questions from last year
Yeah. You,
on the podcast?
oh, did you?
You gave me a list of like 80 questions,
I did.
right? I answered like lots and lots of those questions on our podcast. You need to go back to the questions and answers, but there's some whole shows where I just like answered like 9 of your questions and things like that. Yeah, that list I went through it. Okay.
My question is just a follow-up question on the Bhakti Yoga. How do you actually love Krishna? Because when Krishna was around, it was easier to love him because he was a real person. But if, right now I don't see him as a real person around me. So how can you love him? Like I was told, like if you offer your food, for example, to God, or you do anything as a service to him, then that's love for Krishna in a way. But so like if I'm eating something and I mentally offer it to him, I know that I'm eventually going to eat that food myself. So I feel like a bit of a hypocrite offering the food to Krishna and then eating it myself, So how do you, my question in very simple terms is, how do you love Krishna? Like what's the recipe to loving him?
Yeah, that's a good question, but it's a very broad question. But let's work with it. And you used an example of offering food. Love for Krishna, there's nothing more natural. It's in you. It's something like it's frozen within you, and it just needs to thaw out and flow again, right? It's naturally there. So there's nothing more natural. But how to melt that heart so that it starts to flow again. In the immature state, any act that one does, any practice of bhakti, it can be done in an immature state, or it can be done in a more mature state, or it can be done in the fully mature state. It can be fully ripened, right? So a beginner may say, I'm offering my food to Krishna because if I don't offer my food to Krishna, then I'm taking something that it's not mine, right? He's the one that supplied all of this. When I take it, cook it, offer it to him, then I've avoided getting bad karma for that, having to pay the price, right? So that's why I'll do it. And I hope that somehow through doing this, my bhakti will grow. That's a beginning stage, okay? It's a step up, right? But in the mature state, one is saying, I cook for Krishna's pleasure. When I'm cooking, just like, does your mother like to cook for you? Do you live at home with your family? And your mother, sometimes do you go away from home? Right, for like maybe some months at a time, maybe?
Yes, I live in Delhi and I'm actually away from home right now.
Okay. Yes. And when you go home, does your mother take joy in cooking for you?
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Okay. Sometimes. And so it's natural for a mother to want to cook and please her child. And she may even do it in special ways that you especially like. Right? That and you can, and when you have that food, don't you feel her love coming through it? Right? Okay. That type of mentality, one can cook for God in that type when one's more mature. There's a prayer in my kitchen. There's a prayer. I wish I had the whole thing memorized. But essentially it's like this. It's like, dear Sri Krishna, just as you accepted the cooking of the young gopi girls, just as you accepted the breast milk of your mother Yashoda, just as you accepted the offering made by Vidura's wife. Are you familiar with that? Okay, we need to talk about this. Mahabharata, right before the war, Krishna is acting as the humble servant, the messenger of his loving devotees, the Pandavas. Right? He's God. He's saying, I'll be your messenger boy because I love you so much. It pleases me to please you and to serve you. This is God. Right? So he's delivering a message from Yudhishthir to Duryodhana. And so he has to travel to Hastinapur. And when he gets there, he's invited to dinner by Duryodhana. Duryodhana, the enemy of the Pandavas, who has no real love for Krishna in his heart. But he's a very political-minded person. And he says, I'll invite Krishna to my home. Right now, he's kind of an ally of Arjuna and the Pandavas. But maybe I can offer him a very opulent meal and show him a lot of respect. And maybe I can weaken his being an ally with the Pandavas. Right? So when you have a meal at Duryodhana's home, it's going to be the most opulent meal. He's the prince, right? So he's saying, Krishna, please come to my home. I'm going to offer you the most opulent, delicious foods you've ever had in your life. You're invited to come to my home. And Krishna says, I'm sorry, I've already accepted another invitation. So he goes to the home of Vidura. Now Vidura, who is Duryodhana's uncle, but he has love for Krishna. His wife has love for Krishna. They don't have the wealth and the opulence of Duryodhana. But Krishna wants to go there because that's where the love is. And when he goes into Vidura's home, Vidura's wife is overwhelmed with bhakti. Her heart is melting and she's feeling waves of ecstasy. The real feelings that a bhakti yogi has. There's no greater feeling than this. And she's feeling this so intensely that she's unable to prepare the offering properly. So she's peeling bananas to give to Krishna, but her mind is so absorbed in love that it can't focus properly on the banana thing. And so instead of offering him the peeled banana, she offers him the peel. And Krishna, knowing that the reason he's getting the peel and not the banana is because she loves me so much, and that this peel has been offered full of love, he eats the peel and enjoys it. Okay? So this prayer is saying, just like you enjoy the cooking of the young gopi girls, just like you enjoy the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, just like you enjoy the offerings of the wife of Vidura, just like you enjoy the food offered by the wives of the Brahmanas. All these stories are people that fed Krishna with love. Just as you've accepted and enjoyed all of those offerings, may you please accept my offering as well in the same way. That's what I have in my kitchen, that prayer. So this is the kind of cooking we want to do. In the beginning, we're doing it because if I don't do it, it's actually sinful, and I accrue bad karma. Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, those who eat the food of this world without offering it back first, he says they're eating lumps of sin, right? They're just binding themselves in the material world. They're taking something that's not theirs. You have to pay the price. But when you make it an offering, In this section of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is showing, make your whole life an offering, Arjuna. Offer everything. Just like the food, you didn't create it. You didn't create your own body. You didn't create your own mind. Make it all an offering, right? And it all becomes purified. But this is the path to bhakti as it grows. In the beginning, you do it out of fear of that if I don't do it, I'll be bound and I'll suffer. On the mature platform, you do it because I love Krishna. Because I love Krishna. Now, how are you going to get from the beginner stage to the mature stage? Right? That's the question. Right? And that's what the practice of bhakti is meant to deliver. Right? That affection, just like I mentioned the prayer that's there in my kitchen. The idea is that when you cook, you reflect on that prayer. You say, hold it, I'm cooking and I'm not even thinking about Krishna. Let me remember who I'm cooking for and how special they are. And then you begin to think of Krishna while you cook. Right? That's reflection. You hear and then you reflect. And then it begins to mature in one. And in similar ways, all the different hearing about Krishna is going to be essential. You have to hear about him and you fall in love with him. You said, I haven't seen Krishna. So in that sense, he's unreal to me. Rukmini, she had never seen Krishna, but she had heard about him. And you know the story? Just by hearing about him, she fell in love. She wrote him this beautiful letter, right? Dear Krishna, we have never met, but I've heard of your glories, and I've given my heart to you. Please come and rescue me. Take me away. And Krishna's like, I'm there. Right? And he's there for her. So, by hearing about Krishna, we can fall in love. Right? By remembering that Krishna is in the heart. Krishna is in the heart all the time. But Akshay, when's the last time that you spoke to him in your heart? Right? He's there. If we're ignoring him, then we're never going to feel his presence. But if we speak to him, we'll feel his presence. By hearing about him, by praying to him, by chanting his name, we're going to feel his presence. You're going to feel it more and more and more. It will grow. Have no doubt it'll grow. But we have to make it our priority. If we don't make it our priorities, yeah, I kind of like that, and I just go on living like I've always lived, then you're not, it's like there's a plant in your house, and you're thinking it's just going to grow without you putting in the effort to water it, you know? So we have to, there's a seed of bhakti in us, but it needs to be watered. Hearing the words of the Guru, hearing the words of the Shastra, hearing the holy name, offering your food. Yat karoshi yat ajnashi, what is it? Yat dadasi, yat jahoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat karushva madarpanam. Whatever you do in life, whatever austerities you perform, etc., do them all as an offering unto me. Remember, connect. Make everything connected. If there's something in our life that's disconnected, find a way to connect it. If you can't find a way to connect it, then maybe it shouldn't be in your life. But with the right guidance, we can connect practically anything. We connect taking care of our spouse. We can connect taking care of our children or our other family members. We can connect our work in the world. There's always a way practically to connect it, right? So in this way, there's no moment in your life that's disconnected. From the moment that I wake up, I take my bath, I get dressed, I do my meditation, I read my Shastra, I cook my food, I offer my food, I eat my food, I go to work, I come home from work. All of this stays connected. My entertainment, I find entertainment. We had a beautiful drama here today. Right? I find my entertainment in that which is connected. You know, there's beautiful bhakti drama. There's beautiful bhakti music. There's beautiful bhakti architecture. There's the whole culture. It's just loaded. Everything can be connected, right? And as long as you're connected, you're no longer feeling like he's far away. How can I fall in love with him? More you're saying like, how can I not fall in love with him? I'm always thinking about it. And there is a way that one can design their life so that they're never out of touch. Prabhupada used to say, so that you're thinking of Krishna 24 hours a day. There's a way to fill up your schedule, fill up your daily schedule, fill up your monthly schedule, fill up your yearly schedule in ways that you're always feeling connected, right? It's a little bit radical, but that's where spiritual life starts getting real. It's not, you can't be too casual and laid it back about it. Doesn't mean you have to leave home, leave your family, leave your responsibilities, but you got to get a little bit radical in life if there's going to be a change. We can't think I just live like I do and maybe I go hear one lecture and everything changes, or maybe I just offer one stick of incense and everything's going to be different. There's got to be something burning inside someone. I want it. That state of consciousness, I see other people have it, I want it. I want that to burn in me. That fire's got to be lit, and then it's got to be fanned, and it'll grow. That okay, Akshay? So many of your questions I've answered. Like, yeah, go back and look. If you go to the question and answers episodes, and sometimes it'll say like answering Akshay's questions. Sometimes I do one, and there's been a few where I've done like a lot of your questions. Yeah. He gave me like a list of 80 questions last year, and I answered them on the podcast. Thank you, Akshay. We have a little bit of time left. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question about service and connection, and it just came up now. I had today an Ayurvedic massage, and it was a young man, and it's supposed to go 1 hour, the massage, and he came, and then twice he went out to his mobile, and he finished after 45 minutes. And then my question is, I didn't say anything, and I was actually relaxed, but still I'm thinking about doing service for him. What could I mean, it was always the question, should I say something that he can learn something? He was a young man, or should I be quiet and just accept it? So, I mean, that's not the first time I'm in this situation, you know.
It's interesting. I've also had Ayurvedic massages like where are you from? You're from New York? Is it hard? How can I get to New York? Can you help me get a visa? Can you know? Now, so what you're describing is a circumstance in the material world that we're living in where someone's not living up to their word, essentially. Someone's not doing what they've agreed to do. In a sense, you've been a little bit cheated. And then the question is, how do I deal with that? What's a valid response to that kind of behavior?
I was also thinking, should I help him and tell him what's really a good Ayurveda massage, or, you know, that was, then I decided nothing to say. But my question is really, could I help him to get a better Ayurvedic therapist?
And so here's my answer. There's a whole variety of ways that you could respond to this as an authentic Bhakti yogi. And it's not that one is necessarily right or one is necessarily wrong, right? It might be as simple as he didn't live up to his word. I'm not upset. I realize that this world is sometimes disappointing. I'm not going to let that create some kind of resentment and animosity and let my mind become clouded by that. I probably won't come back. I wish him the best. That's one valid response. Right? Another valid response might be, doesn't he realize that by doing this he's losing customers, right? He just needs to be a little bit more attentive and a little bit more thoughtful. Maybe if I share that with him, share it with him in a way that with genuine care, right? Like that but that from within my heart, it's not coming from a place like I want to embarrass him. It's not coming from a place where I want to talk down to him and be condescending, but it's genuinely coming from a place that I want to try to help. Then one might help, you know. In the Bhagavad Gita's 12th chapter, texts 13 through 20, there's a whole description there where Krishna's saying these qualities, this type of behavior, makes a person particularly dear to me. What makes one dear to Krishna? Right? A lot of it has to do with what's called samatvam, having an even mind. That things in the external world are sometimes pleasant and sometimes unpleasant, but the person that's really dear to me, they're okay under any circumstance, right? It's said that one who moves through this world never causing anxiety for another living being, that person's really dear to me. Really what Krishna is saying is that I love everyone. And when I see a person is sensitive to everyone, oh, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me, right? And I can see that if a person is up one moment, they're all excited and elated, and down the next moment and going through that, I see that they're not focused and connected to me. They're looking away from me to the external world, which is always going up and down. But if they're moving through this up and down world and they're keeping even, that means they're connected to me because I'm the steady one, right? And so whether one chooses to respond in, first option or second option or some option in between, as long as you care about that person, even if you care, sometimes you can even use strong words. People that knew my guru, he used very strong words sometimes to correct a disciple, but he cared. So that the person that he was using these strong words, first of all, by becoming his student, by becoming his disciples, we accepted. You speak strong words when necessary, right? So that's there. Commonly, the yogi's not thinking that I'm meant to go around correcting the world. But if it's coming from a place, and if the social circumstances is necessary, like if this was a young man and you're an older man, in one sense, you have the position where you can share something. Again, if you share it from a place of animosity, from a place of resentment, probably by taking this up, that animosity and resentment is likely to grow in you. It's likely something that's going to play it. He's going to respond in a particular way, likely not favorable. You're going to remember that. Now you got two things to resent: the massage and then the way he responded to your advice, right? And then that starts to create mental loops that play in your mind, and so on. Whereas if you're doing it with real detachment and real care, then you're kind of in a safe space where it's like, even if he doesn't respond well, you're like, I tried to help, and that's not disturbing to your mind. So there's a variety of ways that one can respond, and sometimes we see that different people are different and they get different results. Some people might use stronger words and they get good results. Some people might do that and it never really, maybe they find I'm more effective when I don't act that way. One time Srila Prabhupada said, I'm an old man and I can say these things. Like I can really correct people, but you're all young men, you can't do this. Right? So he was saying, because I'm elder, I have a position where I can speak in certain ways and it'll be accepted. Whereas if you say these same things, they won't be accepted, so there's no point in saying them. It'll actually just create more disturbance. So we can be sensitive to all these things. Sensitive to the experience of the person that I'm speaking to, and if it will really help. Sensitive to, is it coming from a place of resentment or is it coming from a place of care? Sensitive to the results that we generally get. When we behave this way, generally it helps. When I behave that way, it doesn't help. We can be sensitive to all these things and decide ourselves what's the best way to respond. And that's kind of what it means to be thoughtful. You know, a lot of us move through this world not too thoughtful. A lot of us use rationalization to justify acting according to our own lower nature. Whereas a thoughtful person, this dear person of Krishna, there's a sense of introspection and a sense of honesty with oneself. You know, honesty with oneself. That's a nice quality of a yogi or of a bhakti yogi. This honesty with oneself. From there, that's called sincerity. You know, and sincerity is a very important quality in bhakti. All right. We have a few minutes left. If there's one more question out there, we'd be happy to take it. Anybody else? One more? All right, then. Maybe we'll wrap it up for tonight. It's been a joy to be here with you. We have one question in the back row.
Actually, just wanted to know what are the qualities required for this. If you are going for Bhakti Yoga, actually we know about Raj Yoga and Gyan Yoga and other yogas, Sankhya Yoga, but why should we go for Bhakti Yoga? Just
That's a big question, and we have a short amount of time, but I'll be very direct, right? All the other yoga paths culminate in bhakti, because bhakti is the truest, deepest inner core of every living being. If we boil us down and we boiled away our body and we boiled away our mind, in the end, when we got down to our true essence, it's love, right? And this love is independent. It's not dependent on any of the qualities that a yogi might have. We had a discussion on that earlier tonight, that the qualities that may be necessary in these other paths, austerity, tolerance, intense drive, learning, intelligence, etc., submission, intense faith, these things, they may be favorable to bhakti, but they're not absolutely necessary for bhakti. But bhakti, the means in the end are the same. You chant now as a practice, you'll be chanting still in its perfection. But it's kind of the most direct and holistic path. And on top of that, the huge advantage is that Krishna will help you at every step. It's not dependent on your own strength. Maybe I'll just leave it there for tonight. On this beautiful full moon night, marking the birth of the avatar of devotion and extreme compassion, the birth of Sri Caitanya, please take a moment to pray to Sri Caitanya today in your own heart. And I really recommend you to take part in his method of yoga, the sung Kirtan, the chanting of Krishna's names. Even if you spend 5 minutes tonight in the Kirtan, it's a very special, under this full moon, it's a very special opportunity. Also have prasad. And as I mentioned, tomorrow morning there's no classes. Tomorrow morning, no classes. But otherwise, tomorrow is what? Thursday or Friday? Wednesday. Okay. So no class tomorrow, but then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all these days there'll be classes. 8 a.m. Yogi True teaching asana most of those days. 9 a.m. I'll be teaching Bhakti and Vedanta classes from 9 till 10. So please come around. I'm always happy to see you all. If you'd like to get more of these Q&A sessions or other classes, please speak to Gabriella here and she will show you how to connect with that. And I'm sorry? You would like to say something?
Is the situation that the gentleman he just mentioned is about the yoga of devotion, where the Krishna mentioned that it is the opportunity to know my true nature of humility and forgiveness. So in this condition, if he did not bother the gentleman who give the massage to him, so the gentleman, the massage, it's his papam and his forgiveness is his punyam. Is this the good karma that he did something like not bothering or telling him nice word to the massage guy.
But for the Bhakti Yoga, they're not doing it for punya. They're not doing it to get anything of this world. They're doing it to act in such a way that's pleasing to Krishna. And that's all. Right? Okay, thank you all so much, everyone. I hope to see you soon. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All right.